everyone. I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to February. That feels like April or May. Not that anyone's complaining. We're just giving people just another second here. We've got the agenda on the screen. So the first order of business is to approve the agenda. Do any TAC members have any changes they'd like to see to the agenda today? And seeing none, hearing none, then the agenda is approved. And so our next order of business is approving the minutes from our January 3rd meeting. And the minutes are on the screen. Any questions on the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Innocenteo.
Thank you, Innocent. We have a first. Is there a second?
A second, Nick Peterson.
Thank you, Nick. Any further discussion on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, then all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Joe.
Anoka County, McPherson. Carver County, Robgent.
Aye.
Dakota County, Laborie.
Aye.
Hennepin County, Ellos.
Aye.
Ramsey County, Isaacson.
Aye.
Scott County, Jensen.
Aye.
Jensen. See, Washington County, Leitner.
Aye.
7W, Witter. Tab, Kotsukos.
Aye.
Met Council, MTS, Steve Peterson.
Aye.
Community Development, Michael Larson. Or Boylan. Metro Transit, Harrington. Or anybody. MnDOT Metro, Aaron Tagg.
Aye.
MPCA, AO.
Aye.
Mac, Reef.
Aye.
Suburban Transit, Fighton.
Aye.
MnDOT Freight, Meyer. I saw you. Perhaps not. Deed, Eddie.
Abstain.
DNR's vacant. Bicycle, Sabota.
Aye.
Pedestrian, Turner Bargain.
Aye.
Bloomington, Keel.
Aye.
Chanhassen, Howley.
Aye.
Lakeville, Omi.
Aye.
Eden Prairie, Ellis.
Aye.
Fridley, Kozlucher.
Aye.
Brooklyn Park, Ruiz.
Aye.
Plymouth, Thompson.
Aye.
Woodbury, Chris Hartzell.
Aye.
And for everybody's information, Chris is a new member replacing Ross Beckwith from West St. Paul. Minneapolis Engineering, Hager.
Aye.
Minneapolis Planning, Mail.
Aye.
St. Paul Engineering, Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And St. Paul Planning, Dermody.
Aye.
You guys have it with an easy quorum.
All right, those are approved. And welcome, Chris. I didn't realize you were going to be here today, so my apologies for not introducing you at the beginning, but welcome to the committee. And so that item moves forward, and next on our agenda is, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on the business before the committee today?
Not as asked of me, Chair.
Okay. Seeing none either, then we will move on to our tab report. Elaine.
Thanks, Chair. TAB met on January 17th. Vice Chair Winshuttle welcomed our new and reappointed TAB members. There was no MnDOT report. We do have a new MnDOT rep, Connie Sahibjim. He's one of the new members. The MPCA, Frank Kolash, reported that the EPA announced that Minneapolis and St. Paul school districts received just under 69 million for electric school bus implementation. It will bring in about 198 electric buses, and their climate action plan is available on their website for public comment. For the Metropolitan Airports Commission, Kyle Crimmins reported that they're bringing in a new navigation system for takeoffs and landings at the airport, and it is being introduced by the FAA. There's also a noise oversight committee, which met January 31st, and its meeting and agendas are on their website. For the Metropolitan Council, MTS Director Charles Carlson reported on behalf of Barbeau that Metro Transit and Met Council leaders spent several days that week riding the train and stopping at stations to hear directly from riders about their experience riding light rail. Feedback gathered over the course of the tour will inform ongoing efforts to improve conditions through expanded onboard official presence and other strategies noted in their traffic and safety and security action plan. For the Suburban Transit Association, Gary Hansen reported that for all the riders providers, there is slowly coming back on their express ridership. However, the largest gains are on their micro transit service. For the business items, TAB approved the Streamlined tip amendment for 3 project adjustments that came through TAC last month. They also selected the TAB Executive Committee. Members are Board Chair Jim Hubland, Representative MnDOT Connie Siebjim, Met Council Member Deb Barber, 2 county members Debbie Gattell and Mary Liz Holberg. Debbie Gattell's with Hennepin County, Mary Liz Holberg's with Dakota County. Member of the Board of City First Class, Irene Chowdhury from Minneapolis. 2 other cities, Mark Winchell, Chaska, and Mark Stephenson, Maple Grove. Citizen Board Member Peter Dugan, and the modal representative, Brian Martinson. They also adopted the 2024 safety performance targets. There was a lot of discussion on this. Again, wanting to make sure that no more than 0 deaths is what the ultimate goal is. And they approved the scope change request for South St. Paul, Marie Avenue Bicycle and Pedestrian Facility, and a scope change and tip amendment for Grove Heights curb ramp reconstruction. And then they had information items on the 2024 regional solicitation, which is on today's agenda, and the regional solicitation evaluation work group structure that's being set up. And that's also, I think, on today's agenda. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Elaine. Are there any questions for Elaine? Seeing none, hearing none, we will move on to committee reports. TAC Executive did meet this morning and we reviewed the agenda items before the committee today. Before I have Joe kind of run through the tip amendment request here, I will share that the first meeting of the committee that is going to take a look at the active transportation funding that came from last year's legislative session and is to be allocated by TAB. That technical committee is meeting on Wednesday, February 14th. It's a Teams meeting, so if there are any members who are interested in the topic, but you're not on the committee and would like to listen in, you can get a link to join the meeting and listen in. It is a committee that is a joint committee between both TAB and technical staff, TAB members and technical staff, and that's maybe a newer approach, so we will see how that goes. There's a lot that's being asked of us local agency representatives and staff right now with all of the work that's happening to review chapters on the 2050 TPP, this new work group, the Regional Solicitation Evaluation Committee that we'll talk about later today and needs to be formed. And of course, scoring for the regional solicitation applications that came in. So I just want to acknowledge that it is a lot. It is very, very important work, and just to encourage you all to make sure you're checking in with your staff members and hopefully are able to allocate the time and attention that this work really needs from us local agencies. So I will stop there and turn it over to Joe to walk us through the Streamlined tip amendment, which is item number 2024-12. Joe.
Thank you, Chair. This is 3 tip amendment or 3 requests brought into one action. We call it 4 project adjustments because that first request does have 2 different projects on it. And I'll go through these each briefly. This is 2 projects, and the reason it looks like 3 is because these first 2 are the same project with different project rows for funding sources. So this is the Protect funds, and this is the STP funds. Anyhow, so on this one, MnDOT and Carver County are requesting an amendment to their CASAD 10 and Minnesota 41 intersection projects. The CASAD 10 project from Carver County was funded through the regional solicitation and has undergone a informal scope change to change the intersection from a signalized intersection to a roundabout, and this impacts the MnDOT funded Minnesota 41 project, which crosses that same intersection, and that needs to be reflected in their tip description as well. So any additional funding, which is somewhat substantial, is local funding provided by the county, and there's no increase in federal funds or to the requested federal amount. And let's see, and that's all I have for this one. Here's a map, and this is the intersection in play. This next one is MnDOT requesting a cost increase to its pier repair project on US 952A. The funding is federal from the bridge funding program, and along with state funding. This was programmed not by the regional solicitation, but by MnDOT. And for those who don't know, 952A is this long ramp from 94 to downtown Minneapolis. Ryan Isaacson's able to tell you why it's called that if you want to know. And finally, we have I-694 along the inslope of the exit ramp from 694 westbound to Rice Street, installing drainage project. This is a significant cost decrease, significant enough that it requires a tip amendment. And the rationale for this is that after field investigations were conducted, it showed that there was less elaborate improvement would be sufficient. So this is a state-funded project with no relation to the solicitation either. And here's where it's at. So with that, I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Joe? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve this item.
Melissa will make the motion.
That was Elaine?
Melissa.
Alyssa, sorry. I'm sorry. WebEx is not great on my computer. Okay, Alyssa's got a first. Is there a second?
Second, Robert Ellis.
Didn't catch that.
Robert Ellis, I believe.
Robert, got it. Thank you. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call.
Robjit. Robjit. Laborie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Otsukos.
Aye.
Steve Peterson.
Aye.
Tag.
Aye.
Ao.
Aye.
Reef.
Aye.
Fighton.
Aye.
Eddie.
Aye.
Sabota.
Aye.
Turner Bargan.
Aye.
Heel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi. Omi.
Aye.
And Ellis.
Aye.
Kozlucher,
Aye.
Ruiz,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Hartzell,
Aye.
Hager,
Aye.
Mayel,
Aye.
Nick Peterson,
Aye.
Dermody.
Aye.
And did I miss anybody? Because I skipped everybody that wasn't there for the minutes.
Hi, Lyndon. Joe, thanks.
Anybody else? Either way, the ayes seem to have it.
All right, that item is approved. And we'll move on to tab. And that completes the report from the executive committee. And so I will turn it over to the planning committee and Gina.
Thanks, Chair Hager. In January, TAC Planning reviewed and discussed the 2040 MSP Airport Long-Term Comprehensive Plan, and we'll have a presentation on that shortly from Joe. There was a little bit of discussion about some prior environmental reviews and some air quality issues, or just understanding the air quality impacts of the plan. But the committee did recommend approval of the long-term comprehensive plan. We will not meet in February. We have no agenda items. So the TAC planning meeting has been canceled for that. And then, Chair, do you want me to move on to the technical working group as well for the TPP?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, and then the TPP technical work group has been very active in reviewing chapters. We will get an update here from Cole today on our progress there. So at the January meeting, we discussed the comments that we had been received by agencies on the highway and finance chapters. We also got a staff preview for 3 additional chapters. And those are transit, freight, and aviation. And at our meeting next week, we will then get the summary of the comments on those chapters that were presented. And Madam Chair, that's all I have for TAC planning and the TPP work group.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Gina about the, in particular, the TPP work group before we move on to the presentation on the action item? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then I think it's Joe, right, is going to do a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Hager. Yep, I will be sharing and taking over real quick. Okay, jump right in if we could share. There we go. There we go. Oh no, what is going on? All right, so I will jump right into this and I'll try to go quick. I know we got a lot of information items later on. So good morning though. My name is Joe Whiting. I'm a senior planner here at MTS, and I'll be presenting the final draft MSP long-term comp plan update, providing an overview and findings of the document related to Thrive and the 2040 TPP. Bridget Reef and Dana Nelson from the MAC are here. If there's any follow-up questions or discussion we want following the presentation, they are here to support me as they are the experts, and I'm just here shepherding this along. So thank you for being here for both of you. All right, first we'll kind of go through a bit of the why, and then we'll kind of go into the what of the plan here. But the why is, so first we're looking at Met Council's role in aviation. So it is really outlined in state statutes. It's not something that's federally mandated, unlike a lot of other transportation systems in the region. It's something that lives in the state statutes. So that's 473165 and 611. So that these really outline the Met Council to, one, prepare regional aviation plans, to ensure, and also to ensure the aviation is included and considered in local comprehensive plans. And also state statute then also requires the MAC and the regional airports to produce and update long-term comprehensive plans. So the Met Council reviews and approves those airport plans, which we're doing today with the MAC airports, and then with those other communities which are not the MAC, so South St. Paul, Forest Lake, those are reviewed and approved within their comp plans, and including expanded aviation elements. So you won't see those ones coming through individually. They'll kind of be lumped in with their comp plans in the future. So the plan's public comment period gave council staff the opportunity to review and comment before going to the committees for this consistency review. That is included, including Mac's responses to those comments in the packet you've had today. So if you have any questions on that, we've got that information as well. For long-term comprehensive plan, so as mentioned, it's a required document or state statute, and so it's also required within the aviation planning process. It's a 20-year planning document, and it's also periodically updated as scheduled in the transportation policy plan. It's used mainly to identify needed projects at an airport, define operational parameters of an airport, and to assess environmental and financial requirements of that airport in those next 20 years. It needs to be consistent with the Thrive MSP Regional Development Guide, and also it is a basic input to the update of the aviation system plan and must conform to the regional aviation system in the transportation policy plan. So real quick, I'll go over a quick planning overview for this plan before we dive into the details of it. So the plan was delayed due to the pandemic, as a lot of stuff at airports were. So it was on pause for about 1.5 years. So that's why when you look at the plan, you'll see a data baseline of 2018 and not a more recent years, because it actually did start, the process did start in 2019. It's just because of that delay in COVID, it actually pushed it all the way to 2023. And so that's why you see a little earlier kind of study start date there with the 2040 endpoint of this plan and not a little further on. The plan outlines planned airport activity, so both passengers and operations, and also conceptual plan investments to meet those activity levels that are anticipated. Also considers high-level environmental impacts and capital costs for those improvements through 2040. Also, a big part of this plan was a public engagement, which kind of happened throughout the process. There's a stakeholder advisory panel set up. There's multiple public surveys and events over the last couple of years. MAC has gone to city and committee meeting updates, including the Met Council. Eric Gillis was here last year, kind of giving an update on the plan last summer. And then also included that public comment period at the end of the process as well last summer. Real quick, I'm going to go through some existing conditions. So what is the airport? Where is it at? So MSP obviously is located just south of Minneapolis, north of Bloomington, in technically unincorporated territory, not within any one community. The classification is a large hub airport. Its primary role and use is a commercial air service, kind of the commercial air service for the state. It's a pretty large size, about just under 3,000 acres, only about 29 based aircraft at the airport. Annual operations, so including both the baseline of 2018 that was used for the plan and also kind of the nadir of operations from COVID. So 2018 is that baseline year, about 407,000 operations. And then at 2020 dropped all the way down at 246,000 because of COVID. So pretty large decrease there, and just an important thing to know when you look at some of these forecasts. Runway lengths, so we got the longest runways in the region at about 8,000 to 11,000 feet, can handle just about any aircraft that needs to land. Includes instrument landing system, air traffic control tower, and also a big note is MSP is one of the largest concentrations of employment in the region or in the state. It's about 20,000 workers on site during any single day of the year. So a pretty significant number of employees on site any day. Moving over to forecasts. So forecasts are really kind of the major component of long-term comprehensive plans that dictate those future facility needs. As I noted and showed with that updated baseline numbers, COVID was a major disruptor of airports in 2020, and those effects are still lingering. MSP is almost back to those 2019 numbers for operations. Not quite there yet, but they're kind of inching their way back still, probably likely in 25 or so, or this year potentially we'll see those kind of get back to 2019 and go past those. So the planning process included revised forecasts. So those 2040 numbers remain unchanged, those end numbers, but as you can see here, there's they had to kind of build in that dip in operations and passengers into those forecasts for the future. So it includes about 28 million enplanements. Some enplanements are passenger boardings at an airport by 2040. That's compared to about 19.8 million that's the historic peak in 2019. About 401,000 tons of cargo should be handled at the airport by 2040, compared to about 252,000 tons seen in 2019. And then we're expecting about 510,000 aircraft operations by 2040. That's in comparison to about 411,000 in 2019. One note here, while this is a growth from our numbers and our baseline numbers in 2018 and 2019, they are not actually going to be the peak of historic. So historic peak was actually in 2005 when Northwest Airlines still hubbed here and had a lot more connections through the airport. So even though we'll see growth to 2040, we still are not quite at that historic peak of operations at the airport, which is quite a big difference from previous long-term comprehensive plans that actually would seeing those operations eclipse the historic peak in those future years. But and so kind of look real quick about why that maybe is. So again, those forecasts show more passengers and cargo than ever before. However, operations still remain well below those historic peaks. Some big factors here, passenger activity is airline growth. I'm sure you see the news every couple of months. There's a new airline that's announcing flights to and from MSP, whether it's international or national. We also see something called passenger leakage. So specifically looking at those Chicago airports as they kind of max out their ability to fly planes, some of those connecting flights are kind of shifting over to other airports, including MSP. Also, then, of course, regional population growth and socioeconomic trends continue to grow and push more activity at the MSP as the region grows as well. Looking at those aircraft operations, we actually will be seeing probably more international flights flying out of MSP. I think it's about 2% today or so. We look potentially at about doubling that over the course of the plan year. International flights have more passengers, right? They're bigger airplanes with more passengers, so you're going to see them moving more passengers with less flights. And conversely, those regional, small, local flights are actually upgrading their fleets to have larger airplanes to have more passengers while also flying less flights. And that's really the biggest driver of seeing those passenger growth numbers and not really seeing those operation growth. So something that we see, good for that noise, for the noise aspect here is there's going to be less flights and moving more people. And so that's something to note here as we look forward and that kind of why we're seeing those numbers. So now if we look at those forecasts, move over to planned facilities. So these facilities are really being driven by those forecasts. These facilities, I'll kind of go through, there's 3 different tiers. There's short term or near term, which is like roughly about 1 to 5 years from plan adoption. Your midterm projects are about 5 to 10 years, and your long term, which are 10 plus out. So that's kind of roughly how they're broken up. It probably won't be perfectly 1 to 5, but that's a way to kind of expect these splits here. Also, these are split between your land side, which are your terminals, your support facilities, your roadways getting to the airport, and your air side facilities, which are your airfield, your gates, anything beyond kind of that security point of those terminal facilities. So I'll line some major projects here. There's a lot more projects than I'm going to talk about going on here, but these are kind of major ones with potential regional considerations. So in the near term, as you can see here down at 1-2, that pretty large Terminal 2 expansion likely to happen in the next couple of years here. That'll be 11 new gates at Terminal 2. And kind of coinciding with that will be a pretty major reconstruction of the curbside element of Terminal 2, which will improve capacity and efficiency to get people in and out of the terminal a lot better than they do today. On the other side of Terminal 1, the U.S. Postal Service development, so that's 1-6 on the map here, that will be redeveloped likely into another parking facility, which increasing capacity at T1 by about 3,200 spaces. And finally, another large parking development will be the 1-8 and 1-7, which is that orange ramp expansion, which will add about 2,900 additional parking spaces, and also could impact or benefit the LRT station at Terminal 2, benefit by maybe potentially covering it. So today it's kind of out in the elements. Potentially if that expansion happens, we could cover that station. So a little more comfortable waiting experience for people as they wait for the train. Moving on to those midterm projects, again, 6 to 10 years, but potential cargo expansion. So that's 2-5 on here. So that's so Amazon currently today actually has an agreement with Sun Country that Sun Country flies some of their cargo freighter flights. And so looking at that partnership in the future growing potentially, we could see a new Amazon cargo facility on the west end of the airport, which would get access from Trunk Highway 77 and Longfellow there. We also have a Trunk Highway 5 Post Road interchange. That's 212 down here. That will be a reconstruction of the existing interchange, which includes some realignment of access roads and the potential to add some non-motorized connectivity to both Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 from that direction. Also, another big one here is the fixed base operator. So the fixed base operator is the kind of the operator that operates general aviation and air taxi services at the airport, or about 20,000 operations annually. Currently today, they're at the south end by Terminal 2. The plan is to move them on the north side of the airfield and connect them through 28th Avenue and Trunk Highway 62 to the north. Now looking at long-term projects, so again, 10 plus years out, looking at a full build out of Terminal 2, which which will be 9 additional gates to fill out T2 to a total of 35 from the existing 16 today. So a little more parity between the two terminals than what exists currently. Also connected to this, we'll be looking at a reconstruction of 34th Avenue and 70th Street. Reconstructing that intersection, if you've gone through it today, it's a little wonky. So they're looking to improve that intersection to improve capacity and operations as that Terminal 2 continues to expand and attract more traffic. And also finally, another big one is a potential airside terminal connection. So that would be, whether that's a tram or some other sort of feature that would connect Terminal 1 and 2 behind security, so on the airside. That obviously could impact LRT operations between the terminals and specifically that overnight service that exists today to connect those two overnight. If you have that airside connection, you probably don't need that connection in the future, but that's a ways away, and that's something we'll consider as we get closer to that project. As I mentioned, included in this plan is kind of environmental impacts, and a big component of that is noise considerations, right? MSP obviously is a large generator of noise, and so that's a big aspect of these plans to consider those noise contours as they move forward. So MAC, following FAA guidance, creates annual noise contours of impacts to the surrounding communities, Minneapolis, Bloomington, Eagan, from aircraft operations, and those noise impacts are measured by something called DNL, which is day-night average sound level. And this is really the main metric with which to measure land use compatibility for land surrounding MSP. It measures a person's cumulative exposure to sound impacts over a 24-hour period. And kind of connected to that, the council has created compatibility guidelines for what it should be considered prohibitive sound impacts for certain land uses, specifically residential development as well. And they also have this handy little chart here for decibels, which I always find interesting to kind of compare what an actual airplane sounds like compared to kind of normal stuff you use every day. And so just a little handy graph here if you think of how loud an airplane is, kind of compared to some daily items as well over here. Looking at those contours, so this first image here kind of shows a comparison of that 2018 baseline with the 2040 expected contours from aircraft operations. So obviously we'll be seeing some growth in operations through to 2040, and so you see those contours grow. So the green ones are the expected 2040 contours, and the black is the existing 2018. About a 25% or so growth in land area for that 60 DNL, which is kind of your threshold for residential impacts. For sound levels. So MAC, including creating these kind of projected contours to help land use planning in the future. Also, again, as I mentioned, they do every year annually measure where those sound impacts are happening. If your property falls within that 60 DNL line for 3 straight years, then you are eligible for some work from the MAC to help improve your sound installation in your house. And so this is more conceptual to kind of help that land use planning, where that existing contour is actually something that really goes out there to impact properties potentially if they are experiencing noise impacts. Now looking at that, how that compares to land use around the airport as well. It's kind of hard to see this line here. Unfortunately, it's a little dim, but you can kind of see where areas like in Eagan and Mendota Heights, where they're able to plan with those noise impacts in consideration, as opposed to Minneapolis, which already existed, prior to these major impacts. And so you see that industrial land and Eagan kind of following those noise contours. That's kind of what we're talking about when you're planning land use around these noise impacts. Other environmental impacts, so of course, noise is a big one, but there are other environmental considerations for the natural environment as well. So this plan doesn't include any in-depth kind of reassessments of these impacts. Direct environmental impacts are included and are more like referred to the previous 2030 plan, as there wasn't a huge growth in operations. Future impacts for these specific items will be assessed in the upcoming environmental review for the preferred alternative. So once this consistency review ends and the MAC adopts that plan, they'll be moving into the environmental review phase, which will include water use, stormwater, solid waste generation, wastewater, and air quality and emissions. Extensive kind of in-depth review of those aspects here. So we had a pretty long discussion about that tech planning. So I just want to make a note that is something that will be more studied in depth in the near future here. Connected to that though, sustainability. So MAC has established sustainability targets for MSP terminals and their support facilities that they run. They're looking to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2030 from a 2015 baseline. Looking to reduce water usage per passenger 15% by 2030 from that same baseline. And also looking to divert 75% of all solid waste generated at the facility away from the landfills. And, so pretty big kind of voluntary sustainability targets. Those targets have also been enshrined in state law since those targets were set by the MAC. So they're both voluntary and now state law as well. Additionally to that, another large component of sustainability is obviously the aircraft themselves. And Delta has actually set some pretty good sustainability targets, which will impact MSP. So something, if you're curious about learning more about this, what's something called sustainable aviation fuel, Greater MSP and Delta actually presented to the MAC Commission a few weeks ago on that, and it's on their website. It's a hour-long conversation about what this is, but Delta and Greater MSP have established MSP as something as a sustainable aviation fuel hub for the world. Following state tax relief, which was released and established in the last legislative session. So SAF really has the opportunity to reduce carbon emissions at the point source of the airplanes themselves by up to 85%. So more of that's used in airplanes at our airport, the greater those carbon emissions will be reduced. Delta is aiming for about 10% of all of their fuel in system-wide to be SAF by 2030, and that'll be higher at their hub in MSP. And then by 2035, looking at about 35% of all aviation fuel higher at MSP. And then also connected to that, they're also electrifying their ground service fleets at MSP. They had a goal of 50% of their fleet be electric by 2025. They already met that goal as of last year. Looking to hit 100%. They haven't set a date for 100% yet, but likely at the pace they're going, you'll see that before 2030 that all their ground service vehicles will be electric by then. Finally, I want to finish off on the public engagement. I mentioned there's pretty significant engagement throughout this process. It kind of went throughout that 2019 to 2023 timeframe with that pause in the middle there. Included the MAC has a noise oversight committee for the MSP airport. They included 6 meetings with them throughout the process. They included 4 meetings at MAC's Planning Development Environment Committee meeting. Included 6 meetings with their stakeholder advisory panel that was specifically set up for the planning process. They also had 4 public events called Experience MSP. They met with the city of Minneapolis 3 times throughout the process, and they've also came to the Met Council 3 times as well for those informational items last year. And then, of course, addition to that, there's a 60-day public comment period last summer, which generated about 140 total comments, including from both City of Minneapolis and Met Council staff. Now, connecting this to regional policy, so as mentioned already, long-term comprehensive plans are used as kind of a basic input to council plans and policies, whether that's local comp plans or the TPP. In the TPP, MSP is classified as a major airport in the system. This plan will not change that classification. There's really no significant airside improvements, no runway lengthening, no new runways, no strengthening of runways. So it's generally assumed to expect similar operational conditions throughout the life of this plan, with some of those targeted landside improvements, terminal improvements, roadway improvements to the terminals. Potential impacts of regional systems have been noted by council staff in those comments and will be analyzed in follow-up studies when those actual projects are closer to happening. The plan addresses those required elements from Appendix K of the TPP. As I mentioned, we'll be addressing those further in the environmental plan later on. And so the plan really does conform to the transportation policy plan. And then looking at the relationship to the regional development guide. So the policy development guide is to create consistent, compatible, and coordinated local comprehensive plans. Having this comprehensive plan in place before the next round of comp planning for the communities is a big help for them to, again, figure out those land use components with those noise contours, especially. And then connecting this as well to the prosperity outcome in the regional development guide is really to advance this outcome to plan and invest in infrastructure, amenities, and quality of life for regional economic competitiveness. Obviously, our major airport in the system is an important aspect of our economy, and having this plan in place will help improve that airport over the next 20 years. Real quick, I just want to go over next steps following this process here. So we'll conclude this process with the Met Council in March next month. Following that approval or consistency, the MAC board will adopt the final long-term comprehensive plan. Then we'll move into that environmental review, and the airport will also work on the airport layout plan, which needs to be reviewed and approved by the FAA. And then moving on from that, projects would then go in the CIP, which are reviewed further by the Met Council, and then finally move into construction after that. So the requested action today is find that the final draft MSP International Airport 2040 long-term comprehensive plan has a both multi-city impact as well as conforms to the council systems and is consistent with council policies. And with that, I can open up some questions. I see Brian Isaacson has a question, so if you'd like to jump in, you certainly can.
Thanks, Joe. This is a good presentation. I just asked a question about if I'm understanding it right, we don't see enplanements growing as fast as we see the need for travelers to get there. And so my question to you is, can you speak to the degree to which there's an expectation that transit service will grow with those travelers, or what role does the MAC see? Are you seeing an increased need for more transit serving the different terminals?
Bridget, I'll let you go in 1 second. I'll give a shot at this. I think, we certainly will see, I think, a growth of kind of all modes getting to the airport with that growth in passengers. I think one thing maybe you're talking about maybe some of these parking developments here.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to think about for these parking developments is there's a lot of kind of off-site parking that surrounds the airport in Bloomington and St. Paul. And those are kind of going away, right? So especially in Bloomington, the South Loop area, you're seeing a lot of redevelopment activity down there. And the city obviously wants to continue to redevelop that. And so I think MAC is kind of future-proofing a little bit here to ensure that as those parking lots get eaten away and redeveloped into more active uses, both in St. Paul and Bloomington, they'll kind of be able to absorb that on site themselves, I think, which would be a boost both for them and obviously for those surrounding communities to actually have a more active use of those areas than just giant fields of parking lots. I think that's part of it, but Bridget, if you want to speak more on that, that's kind of what my thinking.
Oh, Joe, you did just fine. Just a couple of additional things. So the parking ramp that's shown by Terminal 1 in this particular graphic, we're proactively proposing to build because the 2 parking ramps that are closest to the terminal are going to reach their end of life in the mid 2030s. And so we have to take them down. We know that a number of people have a strong desire to park at the airport, and they like to park at the terminal that they're flying out of. And so we're trying to be a little bit preemptive of making a whole bunch of people park at T2 when they're flying out of Terminal 1. So there's a little bit of parking involved there. We're a little atypical for airports across the country for the number of people interested in parking. So that's something that we want to continue. But we also want to continue to enhance all modes of transportation to the airport. That's really important to us. As was noted, we have tons of employees and many of them take transit. We're actively working with the Riverview Corridor study. A lot of concerns with that. I'm not going to lie about that. We have lots of concerns. But maintaining, for sure, at a minimum, the 54 bus that we have, maintaining the light rail service that we have, and then increasing availability time-wise for our employees is also key for us. So we really want to make it viable for people to get to the airport anyway that they need to. We just made enhancements to our Uber and Lyft curb to make it easier for people to find their drivers and such. And so just trying to enhance everything we can.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, Bridget. Thanks, Joe.
And I just like one more note on that. We did send a comment to MAC as well as, thinking about the Riverview Corridor. Right now, currently it's identified as a tram. However, in the future, if that does shift to maybe an ABRT or some other kind of form, we've mentioned to kind of keep contingency planning in place to potentially, if it is an ABRT, to potentially look at improvements of the transit facilities for the buses at that stop or not. I mean, that's something I think we'll have to figure out when we get there, but it's something we are definitely thinking about as well.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any other questions for Joe or Bridget? Okay. There we go. Thank you, Joe. I was going to ask you to put that slide up. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to find the draft MSP airport plan that it conforms with the city council systems and is consistent with council policies.
So moved, Dermody.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Lissa, seconds.
Thank you, Lissa. We've got a first and second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Joe?
Joe McPherson in Anoka County.
Aye.
Robjit.
Aye.
Pebbery.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Witter. Oh, he wasn't here. Kotsukos.
Aye.
Steve Peterson.
Aye.
Michael Larson from CD.
Aye.
Tag.
Aye.
AO.
Aye.
Reef.
Abstain.
Fighton.
Aye.
Eddie.
Aye.
Sabota.
Aye.
Turner Bargan.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Kozlucher.
Aye.
Ruiz.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Hartzell.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Mayel.
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
Aye.
That item carries. Thank you, Gina, and thank you, Joe and Bridget, for that presentation. And we will move now to the Funding and Programming Committee, and I will turn it over to Michael.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, our January meeting, we did have a few action items. The first being item 2024-08. So that was Oakdale's Greenway Avenue North Sidewalk Project. They're looking for a program year extension. They received about $400,000 in 2020 as part of the regional solicitation in the pedestrian category. And they are looking to shift their program year from 24 to 25. And the reasoning is to line up better with the Gold Line Transit project. And so the committee discussed this and it was approved unanimously, and I can stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
This is Keel, motion to approve.
Thank you, Carl. Is there a second?
I'll second Paul, Omi, Lakeville.
Thank you, Paul. We got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Joe?
McPherson.
Aye.
Robjent.
Aye.
Labrie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Kotsukos.
Aye.
Witter. Oh, sorry. He's Larson.
Aye.
And then I missed Steve Peterson.
Aye.
Harrington. Nope, not here. Tag.
Aye.
AO.
Aye.
Reef.
Aye.
Fighton.
Aye.
Eddie. Sabota.
Aye.
Turner Bargan.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Kozlucher.
Aye.
Ruiz.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Hartzell.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Mayel.
Aye.
Peterson. Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That item carries, and we're moving on to 2024-09.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this was also another program year extension request. Anoka's 44th Avenue Bridge, bike and pedestrian. So back in 2022, as part of the regional solicitation in the multi-use category, yeah, they were awarded $2 million, just over $2 million. And upon further inspection of a rail bridge, there were some issues found, and so major rehab needs to be done to that bridge. So they wanted to ensure that they built the bike and pedestrian way in concert with that. So this also is looking for a 2024 to a 2025 shift in program here. And there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on this item, but it did pass unanimously. And with that, I could stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval, Kaslucher with Fridley.
Thank you, Jim. There's a first. Is there a second?
Second, Isaacson.
Thank you, Brian. First and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Joe?
McPherson,
Aye.
Robjet,
Aye.
Lavery,
Aye.
Ellos,
Aye.
Isaacson,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Kotsukos,
Aye.
Peterson, Steve Peterson,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Tag,
Aye.
Ayo,
Aye.
Reef,
Aye.
Fighton,
Aye.
Eddie,
Aye.
Sabota,
Aye.
Turner Bergen.
Aye.
Keel. Keel,
Sorry, problem with my mute. Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi,
Aye.
Ellis,
Aye.
Lucher, Lucher, not sure what happens if we don't hear from the person who made the motion. Ruiz,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Hartzell,
Aye.
Hager,
Aye.
Mail,
Aye.
Nick Peterson,
Aye.
Germany,
Aye.
Lucher. Well, he made the motion, but I don't know if that matters that he didn't say anything. I'd interpret that as the ayes having it.
I'll agree with you. I interpret that this one is approved and moving on. 2024-10, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This one is a little different and unique. It is a scope change request for MnDOT's Trunk Highway 65 bump out and separated bikeway project. So this is downtown Minneapolis. So Trunk Highway 65 is also known as Third Avenue. And back in 2022, they were awarded HTIP funding in the amount of $1.35 million. And the application included First Street to Second Street. However, I think the intention is what we heard, Second Street to Washington Avenue. So what you're seeing here in orange on the screen was supposed to be included in the HTIP application, and some of their letter and their summary actually include that segment. So we heard from a MnDOT representative that was erroneously left out of the application. So they are not asking for additional federal funding, but rather federal funding to be allowed on that orange area because the original application didn't include that in the limit. So a little unique. The committee seemed comfortable with that. You're hearing the explanation from the MnDOT representative, and this item did pass. But I can stand for questions, and I know Joe Barbeau as well has been pretty involved in this, and perhaps the applicant as well. But with that, I will turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Michael. Are there questions on this item? Seeing no hands come up, is there anyone who'd like to move this item?
I'll make a motion, Ruiz.
Okay, I heard a first from Dan Ruiz. Is there a second?
Second, Ellis with Hennepin County.
Thank you, Chad. The first and a second, any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Joe?
McPherson.
Aye.
Robjit.
Aye.
Labrie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson. Isaacson?
Ryan had to leave. He put it in the chat. Sorry, Joe, he had to duck.
Okay, I can't see the chat as well when I'm sharing. Jensen.
Aye.
Who's next? Leitner.
Aye.
Matsukos.
Aye.
Larson.
Oops, got me again.
Maybe I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Steve Peterson.
This is on purpose. Aye.
Larson. Tag.
Aye.
AO.
Aye.
Reef.
Aye.
Crichton.
Aye.
Eddie. Sabota.
Aye.
Turner Bargain.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Homie.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Kozlucher. Ruiz.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Hartzell.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Mayel.
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
All right, and that item carries. Thank you, everyone. Joe, I just want to go back and clean up 2024-09. Jim noted in the chat that he had an audio issue. He would have voted in favor of that one, which we should record given he made the motion. So that one closes that question out. And that is the end of the funding and programming committee report and the end of our action items today. And now we have a series of information items. And I think we are starting with Cole on the 2050 TPP. Is that correct, Cole?
Yep. Let me just override Joe here and share my screen. Are you guys seeing the full presentation or? Great. So yeah, just a brief update today. As Chair Mitteco said, there's been a lot of work happening at the technical working group, and we wanted to make you all aware and talk about what's coming over the next couple of months. So we're going to talk about the policies and actions development work that occurred over the last 3 or 4 months. Talk about the chapter review update, and I'll have a list of all the chapters that have been sent out to the technical working group for review. and then talk about what's coming next, including some opportunities for TAC to review some of the draft content if they haven't already. So in terms of policies and actions, this lays out really the multi-year process that we went through to develop the policies and actions. Our staff person that led that, Bethany Brandt Sargent's not here today, but she's going to be giving a very robust presentation on this tomorrow at the TPP Technical Working Group. Essentially, we went through several different rounds of policy and action development, including some internal staff work to prepare the policies and actions from the 2040 TPP into more 2050 language. And then we formed TPP policy development teams. There were 8 of them. They did a lot of work over the summer that included technical experts from the different policy topic areas. We had a couple of workshops, and in fact, TAC members were invited to those. I think we saw a few folks attend those in the fall, and they helped us review the draft set of policies and actions. And then we worked to incorporate a lot of feedback and make final revisions before the chapter was actually shared just last week with the technical working group for their beginning review of the final draft. We're going to keep making comments or keep taking comments and edits, making edits to that. And so it's not considered final until we really release it and adopt it. This is just to give you a sense for the policy development teams. We had 8 of them. We do have 5 goals in the 2050 plan, but some of the goals were so wide ranging that we decided to break them up into topics. Things like travel time and reliability versus transportation options all fall under one goal. You can see on the right there different agencies that participated on the policy development teams. Tended to be topical experts from these agencies, so maybe a safety expert from a county and some transit experts on the transportation options groups and the like. In terms of the draft technical review of chapters, we have a 2-step process for this for every chapter that's being reviewed at the technical working group. We start by previewing the item with some content, and this primarily related to the highway and transit chapters where we did some early presentations ahead of the chapter being actually written and developed. Then when we go to the TPP Technical Working Group, we do an information item that does an overview of the content outline, some of the key changes in the 2050 plan versus the 2040 plan, just to highlight really where folks that are reviewing could focus their attention if they had limited time. The technical working staff are then shared a chapter. There's usually been 2 to 3, sometimes more, but 2 to 3 chapters shared every month. They have 3 to 4 weeks to review the chapter and circulate within their own organization the different content for consolidating comments from a single organization. At the subsequent meeting, we summarize the comment themes and we talk about some potential changes we'll be making. Reminder, this is a very informal review, so we're not doing any kind of formal public comment. We're just taking helpful feedback from technical staff and trying to incorporate it into a more complete draft that will be coming forward as the actions to release for public comment. And this is just a schedule to show you what we've done. So we started off in November with 3 modal investment chapters: bicycle, pedestrian, and travel demand management. We then did highways and finance in December. Transit, freight, and aviation were just wrapped up. We'll be doing the themes presentation tomorrow at the technical working group. And as I said, this month we have more than 3. They're a little bit shorter chapters, but they're really important chapters that are about 10 to 15 pages that talk about what the goals are for the long-range plan for 2050, how they relate to transportation, and then make some connections to the different investment plans that we have in the policies and actions. So those are actually shorter but really important chapters, and then the policies and actions chapter is out as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's going to happen with those goals chapters in a more thorough review with other stakeholders on the next slide, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Those are out at the technical working group right now. The work program, which is our future looking, where do we plan to do for future work through the UPWP, is going to be coming in March, and we're working on that chapter right now. There are some additional chapters like valuation and performance, summarizing the modeling results, various appendices that are yet to be coming forward, and so we're still working on that content. This is just a slide that we gave to the technical working group when we present all of these to give them direction. So to give you a sense for how it's happening, there's a SharePoint document that's shared with all the technical working group members. We can give access to others that want to request it. What's typically been happening is organizations are downloading a copy, circulating it within their organization, and then having one person go in and enter the comments through the SharePoint. It's been really beneficial. We've seen a number of instances when agencies are saying we support this comment, and we have multiple folks chiming in on the same comment, and that really helps staff get a sense for how the different opinions or perspectives on that might be. We aren't taking any specific edits right now, but we are allowing folks to suggest edits through the comments, and that's just for us to make it easier to manage the document and not make it look too confusing to reviewers. So as I said, there's content out at the technical working group. With the 5 goals documents, what's unique about them is that we believe that those documents are really at the appropriate level for policymakers to spend some time looking at and reviewing. We had planned to share those documents after the technical working group review with TAB members and Met Council members. We are still working through the legality of how to share a document without violating the open meeting law. And so we're just going to figure out how to do that, and then we'll have a plan in place. We'll be presenting an information update at TAB in March that'll kick this off, and then those 5 goals chapters would be shared with TAB members, basically to do a similar review as a technical working group, but maybe highlight framing questions if the issues are really representing their part of the region well. Subsequently, we do plan to share all of the content with TAB and Met Council members just as a FYI, since they're going to be voting on it in July. And we wanted to make it available, recognizing they're not going to review all 250 pages, but just kind of put it out there. And if any issues come up from TAB members or Met Council members that require more discussion, then we have meetings for TAB in May and June where we could dive into those in more detail, just so that we can try to close the loop on any big picture concerns or issues that might require more policy direction ahead of releasing the plan for public comment. So you can see on the 3rd bullet there, we could share all of those documents with TAC simultaneous with TAB and Met Council, or with Met Council. You all probably have the ability, if you have a member on the technical working group, to see them early. You could always reach out to them. But I think it would be important for you all to spend some time with those documents at the same time as TAB and TAC if you haven't yet reviewed them. So heads up that we anticipate sharing them in this sequence, the 5 goals chapters, and then the other documents in April. Any remaining content is likely to be ready by May for review. So things like that performance chapter, the results of our modeling. And so that's really all we had today. Wanted to give you that sense. I know that there's been some agencies. I should note we've received comments from 15 agencies in total on all of the documents we've shared to date. So I would say, 2 handfuls or so of the region, but not certainly all of the perspectives on the technical working group have been weighing in. We gotten almost 1,400 total comments on the documents we've shared to date. So a lot of great feedback. Wanted to just make TAC aware of where we're at, and if you had any questions to ask of me, you can certainly ask them now. Otherwise, your technical working group representative, if you have one, would be more in the loop on where they're at with the reviews, and let you know that we plan to share them with you and with TAB in the coming months. So there'll still be opportunities for you to review content in the future. So with that, happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Thank you, Cole. It's a helpful update. It's good to see what's coming too, so we can plan ahead. Anyone else have questions for Cole? All right, seeing none and hearing none. You all know where to find Cole too if something occurs to you later on. So thank you, Cole.
Thanks.
All right, and next on the list are a couple of updates and items from Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Joe, maybe I'll let you, if you wouldn't mind sharing the PowerPoint on this one. We have two information items related to the regional solicitation. The first is the more longer term regional solicitation evaluation that will impact the 2026 cycle. And then we'll get into this, the ongoing solicitation that many of you are part of on the scoring committees. So first, next slide here, Joe. We want to talk a little bit about the structure for the regional solicitation evaluation, and we're doing something similar to what we did 10 years ago when we looked at the solicitation. So there isn't enough time in the technical and tab meetings to really dig into some of these topic areas. So we've set up a separate process outside to really dig into the details. Action items will still flow back through the committee structure at per normal, up through tab in the council. Yeah, but we do see a need for some outside groups. So and we'll talk about kind of the role of the technical committees and ways you can be involved in this processing, and it'll be mostly in 2024 and 2025 that will need your help. So a policymaker work group is at the top here, members of both tab and the council. And then you can see there's a technical steering committee, and that's what we're going to be asking for volunteers for today. The first meeting of that group is not until April, but we did talk to TAC executive this morning about trying to help them kind of formulate a good technical steering group that has kind of modal and topic experts and kind of good geographic balance of people from around the region. So that's probably a group of upwards of maybe 8 to 12 people. Received 2 volunteers here to date. We did the same presentation at F&P here, so we got 2, and imagine several more people will volunteer in the next couple of weeks. But again, first meeting in April, meetings roughly every other month, mostly virtual. The next slide. Is Molly Stewart from SRF? Did you make it on here today? Didn't see her a second ago. Okay, so these few slides are some of the major decision points. We won't go through these in detail, but at your leisure, you can kind of look through these next 2 slides and some of the activities that are being prepared. Slide. Here's some of the different groups, and we'll work through those on a forthcoming slide. But really, this first part is listening sessions, and some of you maybe already received invites for those that we're going to be hoping to do over the next 3 months. And then asking our policymakers, where do they want to head with the solicitation based on peer review and just general concepts? Do they want to, what's the overall kind of structure? And then once we have that, then we imagine there will be more working groups that we'll establish to dig into the technical details on how do we implement that direction. So next slide. So again, the technical steering committee is really where our input as technical experts is a good place to volunteer if you want to be part of it. We do have that active transportation working group, which does have the mixtures Jeni talked about, a mixture of technical and policymakers. First meeting on Valentine's Day, 12 to 2 o'clock. And then again, we will have other special issue working groups. We just don't know what those are going to be at this time. 10 years ago, we had roadways, transit, and bike ped were the 3 technical working groups. But this time, maybe we'll have one just on reduction or protect or one of the goal areas. And we may still need them by mode too. So it kind of depends on what that structure looks like. Fourth is, back 1 slide here. Again, the listening sessions, we're trying to go out and talk to stakeholders on what they have liked with the station and what they see in the future. So we sent out invites to the counties here already, but now we're gonna look at other stakeholders, including probably cities, and probably have 2 or 3 events at metro cities, hosted at metro cities too. And we're still kind of putting together the details on that. And then likely this summer, we will do a workshop where we bring people together. So, we'll hear kind of individually from each of the groups and then try and have a larger workshop to bring folks together. So next slide. Again, here's the details on the active transportation working groups. So technical members that are going to be part of that, besides Chair Hager, Vice Chair Brian Isaacson, Michael Thompson as the F&P Chair. The Bike Bed Working Group co-chairs, Jordan Kozak from Hennepin County and Craig Jensen from Scott County. And then we have Mark Breezy from State Aid, as well as Aaron Tague from MnDOT. So those are the technical reps that we can work through. Then we do expect as kind of the some of these high level questions get answered. The actual implementation, the measures, and the specific language, we will need more technical folks. Probably an expanded bike bed work group is what I'm thinking we'll do to accomplish that in the future. So next slide. Again, Molly Stewart from SRF is the PM on the consultant side here, and maybe I think we'll pause there before we go to the next presentation, Madam Chair, and see if people have questions.
Great, thank you, Steve. Any questions on this item? Steve, maybe just, you talked about volunteering. Oh, I see a hand up. You talked about volunteering, so maybe just a little bit on how you want them to reach out to, is it just you? Is it you and Molly? What you're looking for here?
Yeah, I think you can, at F&P, we had them go through Robbie King here, who's the staff to F&P, but I would think for this group, you could, Joe Barbeau would be the best person to flow those through.
Okay, so if you want to volunteer, an email to Joe. Lissa, go ahead.
Couple things. One, I don't know the appropriate place to engage, but a lot of entities have consultants fill out the regional solicitation application. And so, obviously knowing you have a consultant helping you, I'm just wondering if there's an ability to have some of the other consultant teams that are kind of the known entities that do these a lot, somehow have them provide feedback as well. We've collected a little bit of input from our most recent consultant on their thoughts, but a lot of those folks are the ones that are really in the weeds of these applications. So I don't know if there's like a consultant specific, listening session or something. So just an idea there. And then just for the group to know, I did talk with Steve last week, I think it was, about some concerns I have for the active transportation working group. Just from my perspective, as a county employee with an elected board, if I am on I don't speak up unless called upon in a room full of elected or appointed officials. And so I know it is going to be really important, obviously, to hear from, a subset of TAB as well as the technical folks. I just kind of express concern that even though there are technical folks on that working group, some of them or all of them may be in a position of feeling a little odd about pushing back. Say if my commissioner they're not on it, but say a Washington County commissioner speaks up and say, Jeni, you as Minneapolis don't agree with that from a technical perspective, that puts staff in a very awkward position. And so I just expressed to Steve for us to try to figure out a way to get the technical staff ahead of time information or perspective or recommendations ahead of going there. But I just wanted this group to know that I express those concerns somewhat on behalf of the technical staff that may be in a weird position, but also to try to figure out how to make sure we do have that technical perspective on the active transportation stuff. Also with the mindset of knowing we want answers on this in a direction as soon as possible. So scheduling multiple series of meetings with subgroups, et cetera, I also understand is challenging. So I think that were the two things I wanted to mention.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think your first idea that's really a great idea, actually, to bring in all the consultants, because there's as she says, a small handful of people that are really involved on those. So that's a great idea. And what did we talk about at TAC Executive? I guess we said after this February 14th, first meeting of active transportation. We can kind of see how it goes. And it's on our agenda for TAC executive in March here.
Yeah, I would agree. So, Lisa, your concerns on the work group and the mixing of policy and technical reps. I hear you. I talked to Steve about this and I agree that it could be very challenging. So we're going to monitor how that goes. And if it's looking like we're not getting that feedback from the technical reps in those meetings because of the dynamics, we're going to raise the flag before we get to any decision points with that group so that we can talk about how to pivot. So. And then I just wanted to note, Michael, you put a note in the chat encouraging Metro Cities reps to volunteer and get engaged. Are you referring to the active transportation or are you referring to the regional solicitation evaluation work?
Regional solicitation, yeah.
Yep. I would second that as well. We need strong participation from both cities and counties as well as our other agency and modal reps on that effort for sure. Any other questions or comments for Steve on this item?
Okay, should we move on to the next one?
Let's move on. Thank you.
Okay, good. The next one's more near term. So this is an update on 2024 regional solicitation. So if you look at the agenda, there's two items. We'll pull up the PowerPoint, but now that we're past the qualifying review, which ended at the last funding and programming meeting, we do have a list of applications and the survey closed. And so now there is, if you want to see all the applications by category, there is a 11-page spreadsheet that's in the agenda. I think is nice to see because we've been getting a lot of questions on who applied, what are they, how much, and where. So that's done. The next step, we're going to try and map all those and put them on one map. So another way to kind of look at where the applications came from. So 127 applications. Yep, there it is. So that's the overall summary slide of applications submitted by category and the amounts. Thanks, Joe. So we did receive 127 applications.
Sorry, Steve, sorry. Joe, can you put that back up? Because I don't know if anybody else could actually read that, but it's just totally blurry on my screen. There we go. Now I can see it. Thank you. Just can you pause here a second? I just want to digest. We got a lot. So 127 total. Okay. All righty.
Yes.
And is that linked in the agenda? That separate from the presentation?
Yes. Yep. That's
Okay.
separate. So that's a good little resource for people, and we'll get that on the website too. But you know, it's fewer than we had last cycle, but more on par with maybe the historic amount that we get for the solicitation, which is, and I mentioned this to Tab when you were there, Chair Hager, but it was a little surprising given like the multitude of monies flowing this way and that way in solicitations that we still, even after 355 million of projects last cycle, still had basically the same amount, you know, of requests, which shows the need, transportation needs are continue here across the metro. So we did have a few kind of follow-ups on the qualifying and maybe the few things to note, and Joe and Elaine can add in here too. We did, from that F&P meeting, did ask several people for different letters of support or other letters, and we're receiving those back. Maybe the one thing to note, one application did get moved from safe routes to school to pedestrian. That was maybe one change. The rest were, I would say, smaller, missing pieces of the application. So most of those have come in, if not all. Again, we're leading towards a tab decision in July, and mention that first and foremost because we do have a TAC meeting on the books for July 3rd, which isn't optimal, but that could be the action item recommendation date that comes before you here. So not perfect. And if we do need another month there too, we might have some options there. But next slide. Did see one hand up here, Madam Chair. I don't know if it was Lissa.
I think that was Lissa from last time.
before?
Unless Lissa, you have another comment?
I'm back again. It was
Yeah,
mine
okay.
and I put it down and then I realized, just a reminder, if for some of those big discussions and votes, for in-person meetings for TAC, and F&P, since those are a heck of a lot easier to negotiate when you can actually see people. So potentially the one ahead of the vote, and the vote one. So just a reminder.
Yeah, we didn't quite, thank you, Lissa, Madam Chair. We didn't quite get to that, I don't think, in TAC executive, but we're gonna maybe push that to next month's TAC executive because July 3rd, are we gonna get, should we do that in person or not? That's a question we'll want people to noodle on a little bit.
Well, and I think what I'm hearing is maybe not waiting till July 3rd when the actual vote is, but some of the conversation that leads up to that. So, and that might apply to F&P too. So we'll have to talk that through. If members have thoughts on that or feelings on that, I encourage you to send those along to, me or Met Council staff here to include into our conversation. That'd be helpful to understand where you all are at.
Thank you. Yeah, usually, I agree. Usually a place where this committee can have the most impact is not the last meeting. It's usually two meetings before the decision when you can help shape things and provide input. So here's a slide that we're putting together and footnote on this from Cindy Krumzig and Colleen and others that this is a changing number. So it's just a snapshot in time as we have program year extensions, projects drop out, et cetera, scope changes that flow through the process. But did want to kind of lay out the amount of money that we have available. This does not include any potential over programming, which has been about $10 to $15 million per year that TAB has been doing. But again, ultimately, it's their decision if they want to kind of add on to this total. And then the last slide is the non-federal funds, the regional transportation sales tax, or active transportation. You can see that money was started collecting on October 1st of last year. Slide. I think that's the last slide, and then I'll turn over Joe or Elaine. Anything you want to add either about the scoring committees? We did have our first unique project scoring committee. That's the one scoring committee that the TAB members themselves are scoring. So that has a little different dynamic to it because it's the TAB members versus the technical scoring, but that's on a similar track to the rest. And again, the scoring appeals will occur at the March F&P meeting. So we should have a pretty good list kind of by the end of March where we sit from a kind of scoring and ranking standpoint.
For all the scoring committees, aside from active transportation, they've also started their process. They had all their group kickoff meetings, and I've received scores from some scorers, and they're going to finalize their scores at various times in the second half of February.
And Joe, can you just, I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, but can you give us a quick update on where the scope change and program year policy work group is at? And I just asked that because TAB members brought that up again at their meeting last month. They want an update. And we talked, a couple times throughout this meeting about the amount of work that we're all doing here. It's a lot to manage. And so that's something I'm kind of curious if we can get that wrapped up soon and kind of off people's plates. Can you give a quick update on that, Joe? Do you mind?
Soon's a long shot for the program year policy. So yeah, work on my plate is part of what sort of stalled the momentum on that process. There's a meeting scheduled for I think the 23rd or so of February, where I think we should be able to have a pretty good handle on what should or will be recommended to happen to the scope change policy. After that, the group will then need to work on the program year policy, which I would imagine will take a few meetings. So we're still looking at several months.
Okay. Okay. That is good to know. Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Steve or Joe on these items? All right. I'm not seeing any hands up. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Any agency announcements or reports? Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, Madam Chair. With the last legislative session, there was a number of changes to the corridor commerce program. There's a work in one of the components of that was a readiness component to provide funding to get projects ready for the corridors of commerce program. And so scoring and development kind of policies around that need to be developed. And there's a work group that's central office has set up to work through that. And that group is meeting later this week. Thanks to Steve for getting Commissioner Ulrich involved in that. And I will be involved in that from a Metro District standpoint. So just an FYI for everyone.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions for Aaron or any other announcements that folks want to make? Okay, go ahead, Innocent.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to announce that this morning, EPA had an announcement about the reduction of or strengthening the annual standard for PM 2.5. The current standard is 12 microgram per cubic meter, and they've been working for probably almost the past 3 years to kind of reduce it to maybe 8, but they finally decided to reduce it to 9. So from 12 to 9 microgram per cubic feet. So that's the new one. So we have to kind of make sure that all the programs planning and long-range transportation planning that we do, that we have to ensure that we try to be quite below that to avoid being in a non-attainment area. So that's what I have.
Okay. That's good to know. Is there any information that will be sent out on that, Innocent, or?
Yeah, I will, they have detailed analysis on how they reach that level. So I will forward it to Joe so he can send it to members.
Okay, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Take it.
All right, and Steve, it looks like Jim Koslusher in the chat is saying that he's happy to jump in if you didn't see that on the regional solicitation work. So thank you, Jim, and we're still looking for more volunteers from, counties, cities, agency reps, and modal reps. So if that's something that interests you, please consider that, and you can get back to Joe with that if you'd like to join. All right, seeing no other hands up and no other business before the committee today, unless there are any objections, we stand adjourned. Thank you everyone for your time today.